second finish at the EUIC just not too long ago with a top 256, so making it into the phase 2 and then just continuing to play some really high level Pokemon here. So really looking forward to seeing him back on this stage, that opportunity to really showcase his abilities as a player.
Absolutely. And here we have a Benjamin Castillo, Sacramento, again, another top 256. So on paper, we've got two very well-matched opponents, but both 4-0 in this event right now in this special championships. Here in Seville, we have two titans of the TCG going together, two decks that we know very well going up against one another for this one, but two very interesting matchups, I gotta say. I don't know how this one goes down on paper, but I'm interested because I think it's going to be a real tussle.
Absolutely. Well, I know you guys at home have been voting for this particular deck as we get a chance to see Paulo's prizes here right now. That dark energy is going to give a little bit away. That Janine's secret art is going to give even more away. So we will be showcasing and Zoroark EX here. Just what you guys at home had wanted up against a deck we've seen plenty of times here being piloted by Benjamin here. It will be a Gholdengo EX deck that he's playing.
Gholdengo is a deck that has just about kind of struggled through each format, but it's in its most consistent variant that it's ever had these days with the Lunatone and Zoroark package. We saw it to great success in game 1 of our previous feature match, and we'd love to see that again here. Being able to take those early knockouts on Zoroark could really be advantageous, but then can they carry on and show that the late game also has enough power to get through the consistency of Zoroark right now? Yeah, absolutely. And I think Benjamin's just right now had a couple of mulligans. So if anyone's not familiar at home, when a player is not able to find a basic Pokemon from the opening 7 cards, they have to reshuffle back up and eventually try and get one. But your opponent then gets an opportunity to take an additional card for the start of their turn. Right now, there's 2 mulligans from Benjamin. So Zoroark, or Zoroark for the moment, is going to have a couple of more pieces to be working with here in the opening turn. So really interesting scenario here. Of course, the Gholdengo does play a number of sort of basics. It doesn't typically really give away too many mulligans. But yeah, I'm really interested in this matchup because there's a few cards that as I get a chance to really look through the list that are really going to be important for this matchup. Agreed.
Just for Zoroark to be able to handle it. Typically what we've seen before is had to play things like the Toad Scroll and other different cards that might be able to handle Gholdengo. As Benjamin's just looking at it now, he does find a basic, so we will shortly be getting the prizes here. Benjamin having to put it out for us. We'll have a quick little gander. Let's see what we have here. Ooh, pretty pink at the top.
Double Arven at the bottom as well. And that's usually how we go about getting that secret box early. So this could be a little troublesome for setup. So as long as Benjamin now has a strong load of basics in hand, we're good. There's the fist bump and we're off to game 1.
Yep, Benjamin is going to be starting this game with that Genesect EX in the active spot. So just to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea exactly how this runs. Well, Genesect's actually being used Metallic Signal right now. So that's a chance for Benjamin to pull out some of those stage 1 or evolution metal Pokemon here. But he's going to be looking to try and get some of those Gimme Ghouls down, eventually to evolve up to that Gholdengo EX and really start swinging away for massive damage with Make It Rain. Does have that built-in draw power as well with coin bonus, as he does finally get a chance to consult exactly what might be prized. But to support him to get into that situation, we'll be able to try and utilize things like the Zoroark Lunatone package, Lunatone having slow Lunar Cycle, pitching away 1 fighting energy to draw 3 when you have a Zoroark in play, as we do see now the Buddy Buddy Poffin being able to grab 2 of those Gimme Ghouls and that Fighting Gong, which allows you to grab a basic fighting Pokemon or a fighting energy, and we do get a Zoroark come down as well.
That original concern of possibly setup being a little bit troublesome is now gone, as we have that wonderful consistency from the Fighting Gong and Buddy Buddy Poffin. Of course, we don't have a Lunatone yet, so we can't draw any more cards. So it's just a pass over to Paulo's turn, where we've started with the Ens Zekrom, which is the new addition from Ascended Heroes that makes this deck kind of make its mark now. We've got that added additional damage. It's giving us a shred attack as well. It's just giving us a little bit of extra a nuance that Zoroark needed to push itself further in this meta, and I think this is exactly what it needed. Of course, we're going in with the Buddy Parfin and checking out what basics are available. Currently eyeing up that Zoroark and a Budu.
Yeah, there's so many different cards that we're going to have to keep an eye on. That Budu is going to be very sort of important. Sometimes it can slow down your opponent, let's say, with, that attack we've seen across many tournaments now. And I'm sure if you're a Pokemon TCG player, that itchy pollen's going to be, you probably would have suffered from that pollen at some point. But we do also see the Zoroark come down and hit the field as well. We'll need to get those down, of course, to make sure we evolve up to the Zoroark EX, which has the fantastic ability to be able to, again, just like Gholdengo, pitch away a card, but you get to draw 2 cards. Oh, get to draw 2 cards rather than just coin boasting and drawing them. But this is once you get the engine going, you kind of represent that one single prize board state. We do have the Petrarch now being placed down, just so that we have that maneuverability, energy attachment to the Zoroark as well. And generally, probably don't actually mind leaving the Zekrom in the active spot for the time being.
No, at the moment you're not too worried, and at least one single prize Pokemon would be taken if a knockout were to occur. Ideally, we do want to get the Budu online as quickly as we can, but currently we can only bring Zoroark into the active. It could be a retreat on the Zoroark afterwards, using Petrarunt's ability. Then we wouldn't take damage from the poison either that it inflicts. So we could go about that angle, and then the energy could be reattached with N's PP up later. So we could get Budu into the active this turn and start that barrage of itchy pollen.
Yeah, it's one of those things where often you find yourself as an Zoroark player going into a position where maybe your Zoroark EX has just gone down. We do get an Iona being played here first, getting a chance to shuffle the hand and get placed to the bottom. You then draw the number of cards of your prizes that you have remaining.
And although this is really impactful and great for Paulo, we do just have the Genesect to be able to get those Pokemon back that just went to the bottom if you're Benjamin. So Iono isn't really being used here for disrupting your opponent, but great for drawing more cards and trying to get that Budu into the active.
Yeah, so we do see now the Petrarunt's ability to maneuver the Zoroark into the active spot. I think it's very likely if this is being played, that energy is going to be pitched to the discard now. We will get an Itchy Pollen off and online immediately in this first turn here from Paulo. So it's going to be that little Itchy Pollen from that Budu. The Genesect might actually have resistance to cross, so we'll take no damage. So there'll be no damage, but item cards will now not be playable from Benjamin's hand.
Which, although would normally make things a little bit difficult, we just use Genesect's ability, of course. Metal Maker, go ahead and grab those Gholdengo back, and that's going to allow us to continue to draw more cards regardless on this turn. Hopefully they're not item cards, though, because we can't be playing those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a few cards that I'm sure Benjamin will be looking to try and coin bonus into at some stage. He will need to find a way to maneuver this Genesect out of the active spot. Does have to play some of those cards that allows him to do so, like that Professor Churro scenario or the air balloon. So there are 4 outs. Currently not in hand. Does have Lunatone and a fighting energy as well. And just kind of getting reminded, just so you guys are being able to follow at home at the same time, one of the air balloons is actually prized right now, as we do get a Lunar Cycle here now. 3 cards drawn. Vessel not playable, Pheasantipity, and a Boss's Orders. Not too useful, but here comes the Gholdengo EXs.
We're looking for a gold rush as 2 hit the bench, and we're able to draw 2 additional cards. Gonna have a look. Can't play that Fighting Gong, so it might be a supporter before we use the second one, but I think it's safe to say that drawing an extra card is still advantageous. It's a shame that was a Zoroark, not a Lunatone.
Do we have an Arvin in hand right now? That could be a way to go maneuver into or maneuver out of the Genesect EX, but it doesn't look like he has much energy going on at the moment either. So an attack is going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off for the time being, especially if you didn't hit into a fighting energy. So it is going to be Arvin being played here. And now I'm just looking to see what decision Benjamin's going to go down. Does look like he's maneuvering that air balloon to the front of the deck as one of his choices. Does get to choose an item card, of course, but then at the moment will not be able to play it.
No, and that's the troublesome thing. That's why Budu can buy us so much time. It can just buy setup time, which Paulo needs to be able to kind of make the dominant presentation of their Pokemon in this battle. So at the moment, Benjamin's kind of on that back foot of, well, I can't make this meaningful attack when I want to.
Yeah, and it's just a pass over. I mean, for anyone just kind of watching from home, I mean, maybe he could have held on to that fighting energy, maybe just kind of start swinging with that Zoroark, but typically you want to get those energies in the discard so you know where they are. You don't have to keep digging for them. But it's over to Paulo there. He has access to his secret box. He has access to quite a few different things here right now. We do get the secret box being played, pitching away, double buddy poffin, and it looks like a supporter there as well. So we get a chance to discard 3 cards. Now you get 4 cards of yourself. So you do get 1 supporter card, 1 item card, 1 tool card, and a stadium, and that fantastic card that you just expressed a great interest there, Amy, for that Serrano, allowing you to be played and search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX. And then what does that get, Amy?
That's going to get us 3 Zoroark EX, I believe, Alex, and that's going to increase the consistency of this turn dramatically, as Paulo's going to be able to use that fantastic trade ability, which we know very well.
Yeah, and one of the key things that we're going to keep an eye out for here, because he does have Ends PP up in his hand as well, alongside that binding Mochi, this could be one way just to kind of very easily get into an Zoroark EX and start swinging away, actually activate the prize race, because still facing down the 2 prizes in the active spot for Benjamin's side, and that could be one way to just get so much further ahead. And typically, this is where you want to be. So you're going to get all your draw power live in due course.
Absolutely. Taking those first 2 prize cards is going to really jettison Paulo into the commanding presence of this battle, and Benjamin might struggle to then come back from that. Choosing to leave the Genesect in the active might have been a bit too troublesome and a bit too maybe hopeful that Paulo wouldn't be able to hit the HP total.
Yeah, so we do have them all evolved up on the bench now. It's just deciding which cards we're going to be start pitching away for that trade ability. You have to discard 1 to be able to draw 2 cards, but this is where you start to identify cards that you don't need in certain matchups. Because we do see the first trade activated there. Does find an Odson, so he's pitched away. Is that 2 stadiums already gone? Finds the other Dark Energy, so we might be able to start swinging away soon. There's the other one of the interesting tech cards, that Black Belt's training, that will allow also the Zoroark EX maybe to stretch over the HP of the Gholdengo EXs as well, because Zekrom only providing you or allowing you to do 250 damage from the base attack. Does get a Bravery Charm on that Petrant EX as well. So it's looking pretty good here. Now it's just deciding how best we utilize some of these cards. Has got the energy attachment already. Another trade available. Pitching away that Night Stretcher.
Grabbing ourselves an energy and a boss's orders. Maybe not advantageous to use it right now, but honestly, just taking a knockout on this Genesect might be it. But it's not. We're going to go for an itchy pollen and keep building up our own strengths.
Yeah, I like this because you have to utilize and be wary of your resources with the Ends PP up. You can't always just freely start utilizing it and attacking, because then you're going to have to search for the next Ends PP up. And you only play 2 copies, so just kind of slowing the game down for the moment, as we do get another metallic signal for another Gholdengo EX here out of the deck. Remember, you are slowing the game down enough so that you're able to maybe just kind of overcome anything that Benjamin throws back at you. You know, Benjamin does have the retreat, though, with the air balloon in hand, but it's just, what else can we do? Here's a coin bonus for 1. Does find a metal energy, but
one step closer.
1 step closer, but doesn't really allow you to attack if you can't pitch away an energy card to attack. But it looks like we might be sort of activating it, because when you're in the active spot, of course, Amy, coin bonus allows you to draw 2 cards, but he's just deciding that it's a bit tricky. He's just going for the 1 for the moment.
Oh, Fighting Gong can't be played this turn, so we can't get a knockout using Zoroark again. We don't have the correct type of energy. Could use boss's orders to kind of initiate a stall, but it's not really going to work because Petrant's on the bench. So we're just going back down into a single prize Pokemon, bringing, of course, that ends Zekrom forward and hoping for the best.
Yeah, we get the metal energy attachment to the Gholdengo EX as well. Maybe just trying to stop the Igipollen, but gives another opportunity to Paulo here. Maybe just kind of even more set up the board, because we can get another energy attachment maybe to another Zoroark EX, and maybe just get them just ready to go when needing to, as we do see a trade being activated here. Oh, just deciding which Pokemon to actually pitch away for the moment. It's going to be that boss's orders. Gets another 2 cards there. A couple leads to determination, I should say. Pitching one of those away. We're getting access to so much now. And there is a Professor Churro scenario as well. from Paulo.
We're still looking for a way to accelerate the energy a little bit in this game, though. Maybe even looking towards a Janine would be great at this point, just to catapult that energy production.
Yeah, I'm just reminding myself. I know here's one of the energy accelerations that ends PP up here being utilized now. I wonder where it does get the attachment onto the one that already has one dark energy on it. Gets the binding Mochi attachment as well. Fantastic little card, especially comboed with the Petron EX. Attacks used by this poison Pokemon. Does 40 more damage. There's the boss's orders as well. Gholdengo EX with 260 HP. Gets the Power Pad as well, just to kind of replenish some of those important cards back into the deck. But we're activating the prize race here right now.
And that's a huge space for this game at this stage. Setting this pace when you've already got the energy attachment, not just for this turn, but almost ready for next turn as well, with just one attachment. You're right, Alex, I did forget the Janine's is safely in the prize card, so that won't be able to be in effect, but we still have just one step ahead still with all of the energy on board. We're going to use Petron's ability that does poison our Zoroark, of course, activating that Mochi, so we do have the damage required to knock out a Gholdengo EX.
Yeah, massive 2 prizes taken here. The first 2 prizes of this Swiss round 5. And it's just going to be an opportunity here now for Benjamin to actually play some of those item cards now he has access to. So let's see the direction that he does go down here. There, Pheasantipity comes down for some more draw power as well. I mean, it's one of those interesting spots where he does need to find another Gimmighoul at some point, just to kind of make sure the board is ready. But here comes double fighting Gong. It's an opportunity to get some energy cards onto the board, or onto his hand, I should say, and start lunar cycling, and also just have the energies ready to go at some stage. This is one thing he does have to be careful, though. That Badoo is waiting in the wings right now, and it's where it's going to be really important when he does pitch away some of those energies. A Badoo could come back to bite him.
Indeed, and that's, I think, the troublesome part is managing your resources when you are not in item lock. It could be tempting to play all of your items from your hand, which would give Benjamin some really explosive draw power, but realistically, Benjamin needs to hold back where possible and just get what they need to achieve this turn. Now, we do have fantastic draw power on board, of course, still, so we are going to be able, as you say, to pitch away that fighting energy, question mark?
Yeah, it's deciding which one to go first.
Or whether it's the flip the script first. We're going to go for it. The flip the script first gives us the 3 cards from there. And it means that we're saving a resource. I got a really great tip from Yellow Van Kampen about this deck specifically, where he was saying, always use your freebies first. If it doesn't cost anything, do that first.
Yeah, such greater level of sort of value that you can pull out from being able to draw cards first, of course, and then just maybe hold on to some of the energies when you need to pitch them away to start attacking. Right now, Zoroark EX and the active spot is down to 270 HP. We'll take another 10 damage from the poison, but obviously not quite enough to reduce the number of energies that Gholdengo needs to use to make it rain and take the knockout here. Here comes the big coin bonus for 2 cards. See what we get. We get a Rocket's Watchtower and an Arven. Does maybe get a chance to maybe find an Earthen Vessel to pull out some more energies, perhaps. But is that enough? I can see 3 right now in hand. There are 3 in the discard pile. So with a Superior Energy Retrieval, we'll be able to make the 6 energies go into hand and could potentially push for a massive knockout here to retaliate. But remember, there's no Gholdengo. No Gimmighoul, I should say. And they're waiting.
Yeah, which I think would be a slight oversight. We can, of course, take the cheeky knockout with Zoroark on things like that Badoo, but then it's going to take kind of extra supporters and extra resources. So we're going in for that Arven, hopefully going for something that's going to help us to get towards a Gimmighoul in some way. But I don't know if we have any left. I think it might be an angle of trying to use some recursion, but I'm not sure what we've got left to achieve that.
Yeah, because we do have one of the Gimmighoul's prize. Of course, one has already been knocked out because of the Gholdengo knockout there as well. But maybe just hasn't been able to pick up another buddy. Well, there's only one buddy Puffin in deck. There's 2 Nest Balls, 1 Ultra Ball. So maybe just hasn't been able to get hold of any of those right now. We'll potentially have to consider going into the Megalobody. Maybe not. We're pitching that away at the same time for the Superior Energy Retrieval. So we will get some of those energies back into hand now. So a real interesting spot here. We're just going to take out that maneuverability that Paulo has. Does also remove the poison that was on the active and Zoroark EX as well. So Binding Mochi's damage is lowered. But we know there's something waiting in the wings in Paulo's hands at the moment.
And that's the terrifying thing. Benjamin's in this really sticky spot where he does have recursion cards in deck, has the super rod in hand, I believe, but is choosing not to play it at this time.
Yeah, it's a massive knockout there. Retaliation going down to 4 prizes as well, making it rain for 5 energies. Badu in the active spot has another cheeky retreat, or free retreat, I should say, to be able to maneuver himself at some stage. As we do just find the other ends PP up just from that top deck there, heading into your turn. Is considering benching that Pheasantipity EX will mean that there's no space for any further Pekron EXs to come down, but it looks like we're going to get the trade in first. This is where slightly different in terms of getting that value. You are pitching away a card which is less useful in comparison, so it doesn't want to use Flip the Script. But here we go with a second trade now, pitching away that.
Draw into the Petrarunt, so we do have that option back online. But of course, Badu does have the free retreat for now. You could presume that another knockout's going to be taken, and then space will open up on the bench. But this is one of the struggles of playing Zoroark, is knowing not to bench lock yourself and not to have too many things on the bench at the same time. Going ahead and attaching that next energy card. So we're finally ready with 2 Zoroark ready to attack. One, of course, has the Mochi, one does not, but that doesn't mean that it can't take KOs. This deck has a lot of weaselly ways to get those big knockouts on these Gholdengo EX.
Yeah, and we've already mentioned how sort of susceptible to this Gholdengo going down, that there's not really much else going on Benjamin's board. It's just this single Gholdengo in the active spot right now. And it just means that it is under threat of a massive KO as a subjugating change does maneuver the Zoroark EX into the active spot with that Binding Mochi attached. And there's another knockout going down now to 2 prizes remaining up against what we said earlier, has typically been a pretty hard matchup to deal with at times.
Benjamin is golden gone, as there are no Gholdengo or potential for another Gholdengo in play right now. So unfortunately, we are flipping the script and looking for an answer. We managed to get a Gimmighoul, of course, as one turn too late. Can't currently see any way of taking a knockout on board unless we kind of go for that Badu and find a way to bring it forward. We do play plenty of Boss's Orders, of course, in this deck, but I remember a few being discarded earlier on.
So here comes the Gimmighoul getting benched here. As you just mentioned, there is a nest ball now. I mean, there's not going to be too many options there. That deck is looking mighty thin as the Baneri comes down. We've already seen the Mega Lopunny EX get discarded, but that could have been one way to have another sort of very efficient attacker with that Gale Thrust attack. 60 plus 170 more if it's moved from your bench to the active spot when it is a Mega Lopunny EX, of course. And that could have been one way to kind of deal additional damage. We do get a Lunar Cycle here just to kind of continue going through that deck. And like I said, it's really mighty thin.
Didn't get much other than a Stadium, but we are able to attach, of course, to our Zoroark. And here comes the boss saying, Badu, I've had enough of your itchy pollen nonsense. It's time to take a break in the discard pile. Yeah, here we go. So Benjamin will be going down to 3 prizes now. Paulo is only 2 prizes away from taking game 1. There are a couple of 2 prizes waiting in the wings on that bench. So is Paulo going to be looking for something just to bring those up? Does he have the Boss's Orders in hand already? We're going to see the trade first. Oh, I believe he utilized it last time, didn't he? And then he had to power pad it back in. So he's digging his way through. He's going to see 4 more cards, actually 7 more cards with Flip the Script available. So let's see where we can get Flip the Script. Can we turn this just completely against Benjamin? There are the Boss's Orders. There's Corbeau bringing the Pheasantipity into the active for a huge knockout, utilizing the brand new Zekrom.
Yeah, incredible way and display of just how powerful being able to draw cards and just being able to actually take massive knockouts because of the Zekrom that is now available in your deck, and being able to just copy his attack for your own and deal such a great amount of damage and really push himself in such a fantastic spot. And we get a chance to replay it all here, Amy.
Absolutely. Here we go. We saw that really strong start from Paulo, and Benjamin just wasn't able to chip away beyond that itchy pollen. So unfortunately, with many Zoroark on the board and itchy pollen putting just too much work in, Benjamin wasn't able to come back. And after just boss's orders after boss's orders, Paulo was able to whittle away everything that Benjamin put down on the board. And unfortunately, that just led Paulo straight to victory, and Benjamin was unable to get that gimme ghoul down, that crucial turn that really was the turning point that showed that Paulo had this on lockdown, and Benjamin just wasn't able to pull back. They attempted, of course, to keep that single prize board state and try and allow just for the knockout on the Zoroark, but boss came back to bite, and we saw that fist bump for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, typically with both of these decks, we've seen the draw power available both from trade and coin bonus, but the only difference is Benjamin only has access to something like one Iono, which there's not really much disruption there, because typically you just want to keep taking knockouts and knockouts and knockouts. You don't want to disrupt yourself, of course. But then it just meant both players actually had massive hands, or cards in their hands, I should say. And Paulo had everything he generally had access to. And then on top of that, the additional trades, as both our players are beginning to try and set up for game 2 here now. But it's just one of those few things that we just have to keep an eye out for, because maybe that would have been one way for Benjamin to just try and turn the game on his head a little bit.
There's plenty of energy in Benjamin's deck, but was it appearing? Absolutely not.
No, definitely
Benjamin's had to take another mulligan, so let's have a look at Paulo's prize cards in the meantime.
Yeah, nothing too crazy here, just one of those Petron EXs in the top there. The Binding Mochi and the Serrano could be really, slowing the game down slightly, but there's other ways to try and get into the end Zoroark EXs as well. But for the moment, I don't think we're going to be too bad about that, because typically they're generally in 2 counts or so anyway, so let's just see how and what.
Oh my goodness gracious.
There you go. I'm lost for words.
Oh, Alex is taken aback as 3 Arven and 2 Fighting Kong. Some really harsh consistency factors of the deck are in the prize cards for Benjamin. Let's get into it for our game 2, round 5 of Seville.
Yeah, Paulo is going to be going first here. Benjamin being the person who lost game 1 does get the choice, of course, to go first or second. And by choosing to go second, there's that opportunity to just start swinging away at top points with that Zoroark, should we be able to get it down. We do get a buddy pop in from Paulo's side here. First, of course, that does give him a chance to get additional End Zoroark down onto the board state and get them ready to go and evolving up to the End Zoroark EX. Like we said, nothing there in those prizes that are really going to inhibit him too much, as we do get the first End Zoroark back onto the bench. We do get the Badu as well, just kind of saying, well, this is going to come at some stage. We already have the other End Zoroark in hand, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Maybe just wants to get an energy attachment here, just choosing whether it's going to be the active or the bench. Just going for the bench one, just to kind of preserve it and just give himself some options, I think.
That's one of the traits of a fantastic Zoroark player, is knowing where to place your energy and when, because that's something that can be really difficult. Gholdengo only needs 1 energy to be able to initiate an attack. Zoroark needs 2.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
with that access to different energy costs, it does make the matchup a little more tricky, and you do have to make sure that those energy are in the right places at the right times. Otherwise, it's going to spell disaster.
Yeah, as we do get the Earthen Vessel now, a chance for Benjamin to also sort of consult the prizes where possible. Does have access to the Secret Box in hand and Arven as well, so we're going to be able to find a way here to really just kind of maneuver into something like the Zoroark to start swinging away with Cosmic Beam. So we're going to be seeing, the Zoroark come down now. Lunatone was already moved to kind of the front of the deck as well. And then maybe just start trying to get some Lunar Cycling going. We've got so many options in his hands. I love it, considering he's got the 1 Arven that's remaining and the other 3 prizes.
Honestly, considering the circumstances, I think this is a golden opportunity for Benjamin to be able to show that this deck is more than just a consistency. It has the get-go to really push itself forward in this tournament. And Gholdengo is a really great deck, but hasn't had many finishes recently. And I think that might change this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of our players who are sort of diehard Gholdengo fans, or Gholdengo players, I should say, who's still piloting it here. As we do see the Lunatone hit the field now, we're going to see a Lunar Cycle first. Maybe just try and find some additional cards. We'll need to try and find another Gimme Ghoul once again, of course. It's going to be a big target. There's a Gholdengo EX and a couple more energies. So we do still have access to Secret Box that will allow us to grab something like the Buddy Buddy Poffin and maybe just get a couple of backup gimme ghouls just to kind of set up the board. But here we go. We do get the Zoroark. It's just going to be a retreat into it here. Does just mean we do have just one gimme ghoul for the moment. Maybe just doesn't want to commit to the secret box too early. But at the same time, you're seeing that Badoo on your opponent's side. But it's just, he was just sequencing it in his own way. We have secret box hitting the field now. A couple of those energies just kind of in his hand. Easy choices. If you're able to get him back into the hand at some stage, that's kind of the tricky spot I think he finds himself in.
Secret Box is one of those cards where it has a great effect, but in the moment you're like, oh, my hand's really good. I don't know exactly what I want to discard. But you were on the money there, Alex, with talking about cards that we can recur and how easily we can get those back. So it's just thinking about the long game here, and what's going to be useful now is more important, and things we can get back later will have to just come back around.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just one of those decision points here right now, whether you go for something like the Buddy Buddy Poffin to be able to just get your gimme ghouls out, or you go for something like a Nest Ball to get the Genesect EX so that you can get Gholdengos at some stage and utilize your Ardson. But yeah, just going for the Buddy Buddy Poffin, gets the gimme ghouls down. You don't really want to be playing that Ardson to give your opponent some additional Pokemon on their board either. So it's just one of those things that you just have to be wary of at the same time. So Boss's Orders put into hand as well. Does play the Ardson down. Ooh, eyeing up the Baneri that comes down at the same time. Maybe saying that this is another useful attacker at points. So yeah, let's see how this pans out.
I think Baneri hopping onto the bench poses an interesting question for Paulo about the game plan for Benjamin and whether that's going to change this game. Maybe changing up that formula is what's needed to take this game too.
Yeah, there you go. There's a Cosmic Beam for a knockout. The first prize of this game 2 of Swiss Round 5. If you're just joining us, Paulo, with that Zoroark EX, did take down game 1. So Benjamin up against it, trying to claw his way back into this game.
Zoroark comes back on that night stretcher, straight away back on the bench. We saw how powerful having 3 Zoroark worked out last time for Paulo, choosing to attach the energy to the re-benched Ends Zoroark, and then going for a Lilies. While we still have 6 prize cards, we'll be able to shuffle our hand back into our deck and draw 8 cards. How phenomenal is that?
Yeah, and we talk about levels of consistency. This card is consistent, especially when you're in this position right here, right now. Of course, Badoo right now staring down at that Zoroark. We'll just want to start trying to build up the board and maybe hide behind this Badoo for a little bit longer, potentially. Just kind of, again, we spoke about the energy attachments being so important. You do have some energy acceleration, but for the moment, you just want to be able to kind of get that board ready and just see what we're working with. Do we hit our own secret box, which is a great pickup, but we don't have any Zoroark EX, I believe, in hand right now. So it's going to be a little bit of an interesting spot. Do you continue representing the single prize board state, but at the same time, if you've got Badoo in the active, you're actually okay putting a 2-prizer down?
Yeah, I do agree. I think at this stage, it's a tricky scenario because you do want to start the prize race, but you don't have any 2-prize Pokemon to take on Benjamin's side of the field. So at the moment, you would just be trading 1 prize card for 1 prize card, which doesn't really make for an easy time for Paulo. Ideally, you want to be knocking out 3 2-prize Pokemon to take the win.
Yeah, and that's always, unless you're facing up against a mega Pokemon, that's going to be the quickest route to victory, right? Taking 3 2-prizes out as soon as possible. As we do get the secret box being played now, do see that Boss's Orders once again alongside the Lilies, I believe, hitting the discard pile. We know they can come back because of cards like the Power Pad that's in Paulo's list. Just looked like he's targeting maybe that Bravery Charm there. Will look like it's one of those things where sometimes it's always really fun to stick it on the Badoo, because then you get a Brave Badoo in the active spot, and it actually can be out of range of Cosmic Beam, at least for the moment.
I like that. I like that. Just the brave little Badoo who could. And he really could do it. And that is absolutely so true. You gain yourself time, and maybe that's what we need to angle for right now. We were just discussing how taking out this Zoroark maybe isn't the most advantageous thing for Paulo right now, so maybe going in a different direction is better. Yeah, that's why he's gone for the Binding Mochi, just for the moment. Does have that Serrano for a future turn, of course, because remember, he has played Lily's Determination already, but then he knows that Benjamin can't really do too much to impact his hand, so can go straight into the end Zoroark EX on the next turn as well. Does also get the Ends Castle, and then finally utilizes that Ardson. This is obviously great sequencing as well. You don't necessarily want to utilize the Ardson too early, because maybe you can draw into that Pokemon
from the Lily's Determination, and then you can odds on for another Pokemon at the same time, because in that way, you're increasing the odds to see it and seeing more Pokemon on your board state. So there comes the Zekrom, of course, Badoo in the active spot now, just double checking what he has access to. Itchy Pollen for weakness on this Zoroark, so it's 20 damage, Amy.
Absolutely. We didn't go for the bravery charm in the end, but honestly, I think that's fine when you're looking at how the prize race will deal out. This is fine. We're just building up our board, making sure that we're going good to go strength to strength. Next turn.
Yeah, but the only interesting thing here is by not going down the route of something like the bravery charm, it does mean Benjamin can just keep that single prize board state. And there's a boss's orders taking down another Zoroark that came back as well. There's another Cosmic Beam on that. And we don't need to put a 2-prizer down, which means that you're still just a little bit more ahead than your opponent is, because your opponent wasn't able to really protect much. But the boss's orders kind of changed everything anyway, so that bravery charm wasn't going to do too much. So here comes Serrano. Looks like we're going to finally maybe see some of those Zoroark EX. Surely that's this single prize board state. It's not going to be too helpful for the moment. You only really want to be swinging away and attacking with that Zoroark EX, of course, with that Night Joker attack. Here it is. Here's some of them coming out now. Only able to evolve up 2 of them, of course, but you can grab 3 Pokemon EX because of that supporter there. Looks like it's going to be that Petron EX that might be coming into his hand. And then we'll have access to at least 2 trades. And then what else could we work with at that point? So here comes, there's Zoroark ×2, and also Petron. There comes the Artisan just being played as well, or utilized. Doesn't have to grab a Pokemon, but Zoroark does come down once again. There's I guess technically number 5 in this game, Amy.
Very true. I think that power of 3 has really been showing that it is just that. It's powerful. And having 3 trade abilities online, drawing those extra cards, is absolutely huge. So our first Zoroark EX, our first 2-prize Pokemon of the game, has finally appeared as we begin trading into hopefully what is the most well-procured hand that we could aim towards. Okay, discarding the Janine and 2 Darkness Energy grabbed off of that one. Going in for our second trade. A Darkness Energy is going down.
Yep. Feels fine when you know you have access to Ends PB up, amongst other things. There's that Bravery Charm that's hit the hand now. It's going to be attached to the Zoroark on the bench, just to kind of preserve it a little bit more. We're going to get an energy attachment onto a Pokemon here. It's going to be the other Zoroark EX now. Just, again, kind of set up the board for a future turn. Maybe you just keep feeding away some single prizes. There's the Itchy Pollen. 40 damage now on this Zoroark. But then at some stage, you're going to have to start swinging with that Zoroark EX. But maybe you have to combine it with something like that Iono that we've mentioned before.
Ooh, maybe we're gearing up for a knockout on the Buneary and the Zoroark at some point. If the Buneary doesn't evolve, we'd need to use Flame Body Cannon. We don't have a Darumaka down right now, so that's not potential. I don't even know if they're running that one.
No, it's just a straight version with the Reshiram and Zekrom in this list. So, I mean, it's paving the way to be just kind of straight attacking what's in front of you from Paulo's build right now. So it's just kind of one of those scenarios where maybe Paulo's just going to really lean into something like those Ionos, really try and slow the game down, because you know your opponent doesn't have any draw power right now. And just by keep Cosmic Beaming for his 3rd prize, if you do get Iono to 3 and your opponent doesn't evolve up to Gholdengos, does mean it might find a bit of a tricky spot to try and get some draw power on the board. Say we get the second energy now committed to another Zoroark EX, NSPB up to the other one as well. So we are ramping up here, Amy, and I'm sure we're going to see possibly an Iono and an attack shortly as well, because we do have Iono in hand. Petron also hits the field. It's going to be a real key turn here, and whether something like that Iono can really kind of slow the game down completely.
Going for En's Castle, giving all En's Pokemon free retreat and taking away a resource from Benjamin. If we do utilize that Iono, it could be a really pivotal turn, limiting not only Benjamin's hand, but also the card draw. As we've chosen not to put any evolve any of the Gimmighoul into Gholdengo, it does limit the amount of card draw that Benjamin has to be able to get back in the game if we didn't manage.
Yeah, and there's the Iono. So also with a couple of the Itchy Pollens on that Zoroark, that is also down to 70 HP. Zekrom can be utilized from his attack from Night Joker, not just for Rampaging Thunder, but Shred deals 70 damage. which allows you then to use Rampaging Thunder on a future turn as well. But let's see how kind that Iono was to Benjamin. There is an Ultra Ball there, so there could be outs, there could be ways, but Paulo's got to play out the rest of his turn first as well. Here comes trade number 1, pitching away the Buddy Buddy Poffin, which is no longer as much use in compared to the earlier turns. Does find himself with now a Professor Churro scenario for a future turn if an Zoroark EX does not get knocked out. So we're in a pretty interesting spot here. It's going to be that free retreat because of that stadium. Ends Castle, you've mentioned, Amy. And now the Zoroark EX without the Binding Mochi is now going to be utilizing its final trade before, I'm sure, taking a knockout here on this Zoroark.
It's such a shame to take just a single prize knockout when your opponent's managed to take 3 and Benjamin's storming ahead just by utilizing the strength of Zoroark. We're going for another trade because we've managed to evolve another Zoroark. See if we get any tool that's going to help us, but I think it is a dud draw, and it looks like we're just going to have to go for the knockout on the Zoroark, which doesn't feel great, but maybe after the Iono might have an impact, as we don't have any Gholdengo, and removing Zoroark from play will mean that we can't Lunar Cycle. Yep, exactly that, and that's why we were able to pitch away one of the counter catches, as we do take our first prize here from the Zoroark EX side, and the Gimmighoul is now moved to the active spot with the air balloon. We do top deck another Zoroark. We do have Ultra Ball in hand from what I saw a little bit earlier as well. So we do have a couple of pieces to work with. We can go ahead and maybe, if we have to, search away that Pheasantipity at the same time. We can get into, with the Earthen Vessel, some additional fighting energies. And with the Zoroark now back in hand, you know, Lunar Cycle's back live again. So, yeah, we tried to slow him down with that Iono, and it does, at the moment, doesn't feel so great. No, Iono didn't quite hit the mark with their performance this time, and it looks like we're still going to be able to plow on ahead with our Gholdengo goals, hopefully getting into, of course, the Gholdengo and a plentiful amount of energy to be able to take a big knockout on this Zoroark EX. Yeah, so we do have the choices of the routes we to go here. First, of course, it hasn't placed down the Zoroark yet, because then that would take up a spot of something like a Pheasantipity if we wanted to go down that route. But it's just picking up an option of the, well, eyeing up the Gholdengos and then the Genesect. So many sort of supporting Pokemon that will help the board state as well. There comes the Gholdengo as the 2 Gholdengo from Metallic Signal of the Genesect EX now. And now we'll be able to draw additional at least 3 cards, or 4, most likely, because we've got the one with the air balloon in the active spot, can maneuver into the other one. But let's see this direction that we go down here. So no more bench space available. Gholdengo in the active spot. Can use coin bonus for 2. Here's the first one, getting maximum value. Let's see if it provides what we need. We've got a superior energy retrieval, which is great. We're using that for full effect right now, as there are more than 4 energy in the discard pile. Using the air balloon to go back to get another full power coin bonus for 2 beautiful cards. We got Professor Churro scenario and Iono. Not quite enough yet, but we definitely can get there. How many energy do we need to knock out an Zoroark EX, Alex? We need 6. With Make It Rain, it's 50 times the number of energy cards you discard from your hand, but it's going to be a Professor Churro scenario to maneuver into the 3rd Gimmighoul, evolve up once again, and we're going to see a further 2 cards here. And after that, Iono, you're going to be feeling pretty sad about this, but at the same time, have we hit the energies? I don't think we have. I don't think so. I think we've got the 1 to attach in hand, but I think we can only get the 4 back from our superior energy retrieval. I don't think we can get any more, so that Iono was effective enough in slowing down Benjamin just a fraction. Yeah, this is one of the tricky spots you find yourself sometimes as a Gholdengo player, finding ways to maximize your draw power. I mean, after that, was able to effectively draw 9 cards through abilities, you know, 3 coin bonuses, the Lunar Cycle, and still not quite finding the energies required. Just 2 more away from taking a massive knockout here. At the same time, you are 3 prizes ahead, so it could be worse at this moment in time. It very much could be. And we've got backups. We've got Pokemon on the bench. I think at this stage, you've just got to put your kind of eggs in your basket and decide which Pokemon's going to go where, whether you're going to deal damage, whether you're going to hold on to your resources, and whether you're going to leave a 2 prize Pokemon in the active, which I think you kind of have to, because I think we've already done our retreat for turn as well. So it's whether we deal the damage or not.
Yeah, the scary thing is waiting in the wings is that end Zoroark EX with that binding Mochi, alongside that Pecharunt EX, of course, as well. So let's just see how this is going to pay out. It is going to be the 4 energies discarded with that Make It Rain, with dealing 200 damage. Does leave that end Zoroark EX with 80 HP remaining. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Paulo just wanting to know how many energies are left in that discard pile right now. It's going to be 6 or 7, actually. So just wasn't able to find either a second superior energy retrieval or another useful card there. End Zoroark now being utilized for its trade. I guess this is where Paulo's thinking, well, you've discarded a lot of energies. Can I find myself with another turn when I need to with a Badoo at some stage as well? This is always one of those mid to late game decisions as an end Zoroark player, especially against a deck that you know can one-hit KO you. But this is even more important because you can just take a massive knockout here with that subjugating chains, moving that end Zoroark EX with the binding Mochi into the active spot. You are then poisoned, and then 250 plus 40 from binding Mochi would be a massive knockout here.
Oh, I like getting the Iono here again, just to continue to kind of add insult to injury and just hold Benjamin back. Benjamin, of course, did decide to spend that their energy on the knockout in the end, but it really would kind of continue to set them back potentially if we utilize that in a bit as well. And honestly, this feels like the comeback. Paulo could bring this back now and just slow Benjamin down enough to be able to take a knockout back. And I think that's what it's all about. Benjamin was unable to take this incredibly meaningful knockout. It was important to take the knockout there to keep the pace of the game going and keep the threat alive. At this stage, Paulo can, of course, use subjugating chains to go back into a Zoroark that not only has full HP, but also that binding Mochi for the extra damage we need to knock out the Gholdengo EX.
Yeah, this is it. This is a massive turn of events, considering that Iono really did pay dividends here. And it just comes down now to how Paulo could maneuver a couple of these last prizes here. Does choose to Professor Churro scenario the end Zoroark EX on the bench here now. Of course, should still have energy attachment because of the ends PP up to power up the third end Zoroark EX ready to go and waiting in the wings at the same time, just to make sure there is an additional attacker. Will we see the other end Zoroark come back down just to kind of make sure we have draw power to evolve up on a future turn as well? Because this means we will be evening up the prize cards remaining for both our players if we take the massive knockout here. It's just going to be the knockout. Ooh. What happened there? Just kind of double checking. Looked like he was...
I think he's trading... No? Using an S-ball? Using an S-ball. Before our attack, I believe.
Just double checking what he has available to himself, I guess.
Mean, the deck's pretty thin, so it's fair enough to be able to have a look. And you're going to be able to trade through a lot of that next
Absolutely.
turn. So I think seeing what you have left available is completely understandable before they choose to take the knockout there on that Gholdengo, beginning to even up that prize race, finally.
Yeah, so 3 prize cards remaining for both our players here. Benjamin with just the Gholdengo EX in the active spot now. Gimme Ghoul still on the bench, so we do still have access to it at some stage. But we'll need to find a number of pieces here to try and actually get the knockout on this end Zoroark EX. Remember, we still need those 6 energy cards to be able to do so. That will be double superior energy retrieval. Already has played 1 as well, or has to find something like the Lana's Aid that he plays as well, which is another way to replenish some energy back into the hand. But this is where it gets a little bit scary, because then you do make yourself susceptible to that Badoo coming in. So let's just see exactly how this plays here. That metallic signal did grab the other Gholdengo out of the deck as well. Gives it another good shuffle. Just need to find those key pieces now to keep himself in the prize race and just work out exactly the route to victory here. So eyeing up an Iono is his own.
Oh, yeah. As a good shout at this stage, Paulo has a ginormous hand of cards and finally has taken enough prize cards where Iono feels really impactful, letting him only have 3 cards. Now, both decks do have a lot of practice in drawing lots of cards, but it's whether you can draw enough out of the situation, whether the cards left in Paulo's decks with the deck is the cards that he would prefer to have in hand, or the hand that he's been cultivating this whole time.
Yeah, so here comes Pheasantipity hitting the board now that we have a spare slot available. Flip the script, so we're going to see 3 more cards here as well. So there's a Fighting Gong. Lunatone now sort of rendered a little bit useless, unfortunately, because not being able to Lunar Cycle when you don't have Zoroark in play. We do see the retreat from the air balloon into the other Gholdengo. Another coin bonus for a further 2 cards. Are these helpful in any way? There's Lana's Aid, not playable, and the boss's orders. There are not very good cards that we're working with here.
Oh my goodness, I think we might have been denied another turn of attacking.
And it's just like that. Iono's not going your way, just from either side of the board. I mean, your own either, as well as the draw power that you have on the board state, and it's just not been useful in any way, shape, or form, as it's now a fighting Gong to find out what even is remaining. There's a fighting energy, not able to find a way into the superior energy retrievals. It's been a real tough ride in this game too.
It's been an uphill struggle. After taking a really early lead, Benjamin's now back at the bottom of the hill, seemingly, going, oh my goodness, I've got to get back up there. And it's just not happening.
No, not at all. There's a technical machine evolution, and it's just a pass over. And Zoroark EX still stays poisoned. Will tick up to 20 damage taken because of poison between turns. But when you're still in that spot, you can just, again, could have just swung away, right? But yeah, I'm just thinking maybe it was just kind of confusing himself whether it was a knockout or moving things. I guess when you have Ends Castle, you can do whatever you want, really.
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. And then we're going to start trading for the turn. Now, let's see exactly what Paulo's after here. I think at the end of the day, it is just a case of continuously now keeping on top of these attacks. You've got the energy on board you need. And now it's just about keeping consistent knockouts. We want knockouts on these. We want a 2-prize Pokemon and then maybe a single prize, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and this is important because Paulo actually has the Black Belt's training in hand, so doesn't actually have to utilize the poison Mochi and Zoroark EX to attack. Either can utilize that supporter to deal enough damage to then attack the Gholdengo EX, of course. Having to think about the ends Zekrom, which Rampaging Thunder is 250 damage, but during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use attacks. So we'll have to kind of maneuver back into the other one, but having access to Black Belt's training, you're not too worried about that, and then you can stretch over.
As we move towards the latter stages of this game, it's going to be a battle of resources. What is left over that's going to get me over to this victory? And just having a quick glance at the timer, we're not going to have time for a game 3. So it's looking like Paulo's going to need to take this win or a tie situation, which would result in Paulo getting the overall victory.
Yeah, I think Paulo's also setting up the board state. So if anything does go down, like another Zoroark EX, we will have additional draw power with that Pheasantipity hitting the board state as well. So I really do commend that, of course, just kind of protecting yourself from any sort of, say, naughty shenanigans from Benjamin's side. But it's looking likely that we're going to see just another massive KO here. Can we attack with that? Yeah, we'll double check if that ends. Zekrom did attack with Rampaging Thunder on the last turn.
I think that's maybe why we did the pivot.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's very true. So we go back into the
reset it, and then we can go ahead and do that again. Of course, we're going to go for the Mega Lopunny to try and make it a lot more difficult for Paulo to close up this game in time. So we're going to go ahead and bring forward the Pheasantipity instead.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that was in my mind was that by not moving that Zoroark EX down to 250 HP, which is a little bit easier to take the knockout on, especially with a Gholdengo, for example, that if you just had a fresh one in the active spot, you're then asking them for another energy card. That was my initial thinking. But yeah, you're right. Maybe just that maneuverability just to kind of get out of the Rampaging Thunder sort of inability to continue attacking after utilizing it once. Just means that it's just easy to maybe just send up the damaged one. You do have additional draw power with that Pheasantipity anyway. But as you said, Amy, here comes the Mega Lopunny EX moving into the active spot, and it's going to be that Gale Thrust for a knockout to go down to 1 prize as well. And it's just on Paulo to maybe just find a boss's orders. He has it in hand already, so a massive final prize here. And here it is.
For the Pheasantipity EX, we see the fist bump, and Zoroark is laughing with that Night Joker all the way to the finish line, taking it 5-0 in this round 5 here at Seville Special Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of showcasing and demonstrating just how consistent that deck is with that trade ability and just how powerful it now has become with En's Zekrom as well. We get a chance to replay exactly what happened in this Swiss round 5. Game 1 here, it just felt like it was all Paulo being able to really set up behind that Badoo initially and then start targeting down those Gholdengo EXs on the board after Benjamin was not able to utilize those item cards and just taking such a strong, heavy lead into this game 1 here. And Benjamin, even after finally sort of starting to swing away, it was just left with one Gholdengo EX, and it was not Gholdengo with his last ride just by himself. It wasn't enough to kind of keep him in the game here. And Paulo just ran away with it in this game 1.
He did indeed, and that's exactly it. Benjamin just was unable to find the energy, the resources at the right times, and it just spelt disaster. And in this game too, it started off so strong for Benjamin, getting that early knockout on the end Zoroark, taking the first prize, taking the second prize, and Badoo was just chipping away. And that seemed like it was putting Paulo on the back foot. But Paulo at this point made everything change as that INO began his comeback. And Benjamin was unable to re-establish a board which gave him enough energy to make any meaningful knockout. And so he was stuck on 3 prize cards. Eventually, after taking some damage, a Professor Turo scenario took that away. So Paulo was able to keep up the pressure and start making a comeback, finally taking that knockout on that Gholdengo EX.
Yeah, and it just, I think at that point, when you're missing a massive knockout there, Zoroark again, we ran away with game 1, and game 2, after going down those 3 prizes, just found his way back in. That Iono really kind of slowing down the whole game, and just when you thought it was all over, that boss's orders was the one that was going to take it down and just allow Zekrom to be able to utilize, well, the Rampaging Thunder